What's up guys, it's your boy Senron, and this is a guide to farming in League of Legends. This video will cover what farming is, its benefits, and how and when to do it. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Farming, also known as CSing, is the term used for landing the killing blow on minions and monsters. Farming is considered one of, if not the best way, of earning gold and experience throughout a match. All 4 minion types and all 17 monster types give a set amount of experience and gold, which for most of them gradually increases over game time. Standing near an enemy minion that dies rewards all allied champions within 1400 units of the minion's death experience, regardless of whether it was last hit or killed by any other source. Preferably though, you want to be the one dealing the killing blow to it, to guarantee the minion's gold bounty and experience, regardless of your distance to it. Farming is mostly seen during the laning phase, as most champions typically do not have the necessary strength required to play out fights they want to just yet. The game tracks killed creeps as a score in the top right corner. This little number right here is called creep score, or CS for short. Killing a minion gives you 1 point of CS, regardless of type, and killing a full camp of monsters gives you 4 points of CS. If you divide the CS you have by the number of minutes that have already passed, you get, surprise surprise, CS per minute, or CSPM for short. CSPM is an often overlooked metric that can be used to estimate a player's playstyle and skill level. Low CSPM typically means that they are more focused on roaming and fighting in general, and getting their leads through kills, while high CSPM means that they avoid unnecessary fighting altogether and focus more on playing good macro to get their shmonies. This isn't a set rule though. There's a bunch of people with defensive playstyles that have terrible CSPM just because they're bad at last hitting. So take what I said earlier with a little grain of salt. Farming is the best way to earn golden experience consistently throughout a match, due to it being nearly effortless and mostly risk-free. A wave pre-minute 15 rewards you on average with 125 gold. After the 15-minute mark, it rewards you with roughly 147, and finally, after the 25-minute mark, it rewards you with 195 gold. Next to gold, you of course also gain much needed experience. The experience value each minion gives is different depending on the minute at which it was killed. Here's a neat little list I found that shows you how many waves are needed for each level. To avoid putting both carries and supports massively behind mid and top laners, the experience gain yield is adjusted if 2 or more players are in range. Speaking of experience, yeah, I'm just gonna have to cut in here for a second. Hi guys, future and cooler Senron here. While collecting and fact-checking data for this video, I stumbled across a lot of interesting stuff regarding experience. In order not to bloat this video out, however, I decided that it's probably best to upload an experience guide as a separate video, which will be out in a week or so. Alright, back to old and lame Senron. Fun fact, the reason lane assignments exist as we know them today is because they maximize gold distribution and of course defensive power as well. Now, you might say, Senron, if farming is so important, why do people even trade or kill each other at all? Shouldn't everyone just stick to killing minions then? Well, my boy, like all things in life, it's mostly about balance. If trading or killing an opponent has more priority than CSing, due to it either rewarding comparatively more golden experience, or if you just need to do it for ego purposes, then by all means, feel free to drop a couple of CS. Just make sure not to make this a habit though, because if you drop one too many, just to annoy your enemies, with basically no return on your investment, you'll go broke and will be useless. Playing aggressively for kills and dropping CS in favor of it is a high risk, high reward playstyle that is generally not recommended for most players who want to improve at the game or climb the ranked ladder. Consistency is key. So just stick to what everyone is doing and farm those creeps. After all, you don't want to end up becoming a Yasuo player, do you know? I do have to admit though, that the importance of farming slowly degrades with game time, as objectives and death timers start to become more impactful. I talked a lot about last hitting, but how do you actually do it? Well, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is use your damage dealing attacks or spells on minions or monsters that are about to die. The spell and attack priority to use for creeps is different for every champion, but usually you want to either use your basic attacks, your lowest cost and cooldown spell, or an AoE spell to ensure that the money goes where it should go. Pay attention to the range of the attack or spell, your distance to the target, the cooldown in between spells or attacks, and, most importantly, the damage that it deals. If you struggle with memorizing all four at once, you could try moving closer to the target you are trying to last hit. That way, you don't have to pay much attention to the range or the projectile speed. Melee champions do this by default, which is why it's often easier to last hit as one. If you have a lot of energy and often mistime your basic attacks due to it, you might want to start practicing cancelling your auto attacks. The default key to cancel any move is the S key. Keep in mind, however, that the animation cancelling key doesn't work with spells in general or basic attacks that are fully cast. The cancel has to happen during the windup of a basic attack. This might take some time to get used to, but trust me, it's worth it. Especially if you struggle to farm under your tower. Here I am farming under my tower to show you that there's a couple of ways to avoid the turret from stealing all of your CS. The first thing that you need to know is that the tower range isn't in the middle of the tower, but slightly in front of the middle. If the turret's old target dies, the turret will start targeting the minion closest to this point. Knowing this helps, as you can prepare the next minions that are about to be targeted by your turret. If the champion you are playing has high spell cooldowns and low attack speed, you might want to try basic attacking the target that is about to die to your tower at the same time as the tower, or just shortly before, depending on your distance to the target. This way, you get enough time to reset your basic attack completely, or your spell completely, to hit the next one as well. Here's what happens if you panic and attack anything that the tower focuses. And here's what happens if you don't panic and take your time. Notice the difference? Good. Successful last hitting requires precise timing and attentiveness. I'm currently showing you clips of a practice tool game where farming is pretty easy, but under normal Summoner's Rift circumstances, you will have to deal with both allies and enemies who will try to sabotage you from landing important last hits. When going for potential CS, you always have to think ahead. Not as much as you would if you were to all in on your opponent, but you do have to consider soft trades or potential ganks or roams when stepping up. And if the drawback of losing health, resources, summoner spells, or let's face it, your mental state is not worth the 10 to 20 gold you get, then don't do it. Pay attention to your opponent's cooldowns, the map, the wave state, and most importantly your positioning, and then do what your gut tells you to do. If you feel like it's fine to CS, then step up and do it. If not, then wait until you feel like it is. This gut feeling is just something you slowly develop the more you play. Paying attention to what's happening helps a lot, but doesn't make you omniscient. But not knowing everything is just part of the fun. Or the pain. I don't judge. Let's take a look at a few examples of what to look out for when going for CS. Example number 1. In this scenario, I am playing Jax against Gangplank. Gangplank is a champion who can dish out large amounts of damage with his passive and his barrels. So it's important to respect him as long as he has both available. As you can see, I keep my distance from Gangplank a bit in the early stages to avoid receiving unnecessary damage, only stepping up to farm when I have my E ready to block his basic attacks or when he doesn't have any barrels up to damage me from a distance and run away. This way, I ensure that I stay healthy enough to take what CS I can get, and any gank opportunities that come my way too, until I feel comfortable enough to roll and smoke him. Example number 2. Here I am playing Twitch mid against Malzahar. I know that playing Twitch mid is a war crime, but hear me out just for a second. My priority is to roam and cause chaos, and Malzahar's priority is to push me in so that I cry under my tower. For this example, pay close attention to my positioning and my wards. To avoid receiving unnecessary damage or granting Malzahar permapush, I have to stand close enough to the enemy wave to push it, but far enough from my wave, or more specifically, allied minions affected by Malzahar's E ability. At the same time, I have to look out for my jungler, and more importantly the enemy jungler, as Malzahar might place his E at the opposite side of where his jungler is to force me to walk into them. Wards are important in a case such as this, as you can safely play around the side with vision at all times. Lo and behold, my plan worked, and I'm not only up in CS, but also causing chaos everywhere. Please don't unsubscribe, I promise to never play Twitch mid again. Example number 3. In this game, I am playing Renekton against Teemo. The Teemo has over 1 billion mastery points and is playing with Grasp and Ignite. Any way you look at it, I am fogged in this lane pre-level 6. Teemo can block most of my damage with his Q, so short trades generally are not that recommended. Instead, I will have to look for all-ins once I'm level 6. Teemo, realizing that he has the upper hand during the first couple of minutes, zones me away from my minions. In order for me not to fall behind completely, I have to use the majority of my spells to last hit minions and sustain myself. Stepping up like this, however, comes at a risk, as Teemo is able to correctly calculate the damage needed to finish me off, flash igniting and basic attacking me for a quick and easy kill. The correct play would have been either to ask my team for help or to accept the fact that dropping a couple of minions might be a smarter idea than risking death, as Teemo is just stronger than me at the moment. And last but not least, example number 4. In this scenario, I am playing Lucian ADC with a Pyke support. My enemies are Jhin and Yuumi. In this clip, Yuumi has based to regenerate her mana and buy some items, leaving Jhin all to himself. Pyke and I both know that Jhin will die if he steps up, so we position ourselves in front of the wave to zone him off of experience and gold. I watch my level bar and the wave stayed closely, and as soon as I hit level 6, I all-in him, killing him and shoving my wave under his tower to gain a plating and some additional CS. Through this play, I received a lot of gold, but more importantly, I denied Jhin 2 waves of experience and gold, making him fall behind severely. Not long after that, the guy was 1 in 7, had 2/3 of my CS, and was 2 levels and 20 LP down. In conclusion, you should avoid going for CS if the enemy laner can kill you, enemies or allies will gank you, you can go for a free kill or objective instead, however only do this if you don't lose too many minions, you would receive too much damage, forcing you to base or sit under your tower, you can deal a lot of damage to your enemy laner, forcing them to base or sit under their tower, and finally, if you have a good wave state and don't want to break it. You should consider going for CS every time none of these rules apply. In short, anytime you are not doing PvP related activities, objectives, or secondary tasks like warding and clearing vision, go for CS. Free gold and experience never hurts you. You might have noticed that all of the examples that I've shown you took place during the laning phase. While farming is not limited to the stage, it is the most common thing to do during it, because after the laning phase ends, which is usually around minute 14, the game advances into a stage commonly known as the mid-game. During this stage, players leave their assigned lanes to use the gold they have gained to push an advantage through vision, teamfights, and objectives. As a result of that, many players, especially ones in lower ranks, neglect farming minions or monsters altogether, and just look for fights or catch opportunities to scale faster into the late game. But if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, you should now know that relying on repeated fights for gold is not only inconsistent, but also extremely risky. Instead, what you should do is learn how to side lane correctly, to stay even or ahead of the average gold curve all game long. And side laning, my dear viewers, is something I will explain in my second next video. But until then, I wish you good luck with your grind.